Okay, welcome. There we go, a couple of comments there, a couple of highs from Pete there. We just wait for Pete to come up onto the digital stage. Welcome to this edition, Mastering Human Behaviour in Challenging Times. So all about unlocking potential. Just a few housekeeping items. When Pete is talking, I will disappear off stage, but if you want to increase the size of your screen to see Pete, in the top right hand corner where you can see me speaking, you'll see a little box with 4 kind of arrows in it. You can enlarge your screen so you go to full screen for Pete if you want to do that. Pete will be asking some questions during the session. If you can put your answers into the chat function there. So we just wait for Pete to come up. You just need to put your camera and mic on. Right there. There we go.
There we go. I can see myself.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Look at that. So Pete will be asking some questions during his presentation, so you can put the answers in the chat there, and Pete will be able to see those. If you do have some questions for Pete, we'll go into Q&A about 3 o'clock. Put them in the Q&A function that you can see there. I'll probably add a couple of questions in there just to inspire people. So if you can add them into there, and then when I pop back up at 3 o'clock, I'll assist Pete in terms of the Q&A element that we'll go into. So Pete is a leading inspirational speaker and coach, specialising in leadership, maximising human potential and performance. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Pete, who's going to be in this session on unlocking your potential. Take it away.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you very much also for being so flexible with the time, because I was going to be doing this morning, but I got a phone call, I think yesterday afternoon, and to go to Southampton University Hospital to do a session with the executive board, which I literally did 2 hours with them this morning. I left here at, I think I left here at 5:15. And literally, I've just come back, and now I'm here to talk to you about unlocking human potential, dealing with challenging times. And my background is in performance. My background is in behavior. I'm fascinated by human beings and what we're actually capable of. And when we get to see the best in people, when we get to see the worst in people. And I would like to share with you over the next half an hour or so some different perspectives, some different ideas, and some tools and some things that maybe you could do differently. And I want to share with you a little bit about my own story, if that's okay. And maybe after today, your life, my life will be better because we all came together. The fact is, we are all in the story making business. It sounds cheesy, but we are. I have my own story. I've been directing it for years. I've been producing it for years. I am the actor. I can choose my supporting cast. Now I'm choosing to be with you. So you're in my supporting cast, and maybe I'm in yours for this small period of time we spend together. And at the end of this session, we go our separate ways and we carry on with our stories. But I think sometimes we seem to forget that we are also the actor in our story. And that's why we watch films. We watch films because they touch the hearts and the minds of us. Would you not agree? Can you resonate with that? That you wouldn't have necessarily have chosen the COVID virus to have hit. Let me just turn this off in the background so we don't get any. It's not WhatsApp. It's actually messaging. But I don't think I'm going to get any more messages. That's like a text message, right? I mean, who gets text messages anymore? It's all about WhatsApp these days, and Facebook Messenger and LinkedIn messages. So I suppose that, as I was saying, no one really would have predicted COVID and the impact that would have on all of us. Now, I would imagine because you will work in the event space, you have been challenged by that massively. I would imagine that your whole world has been turned upside down. Mine as well. You know, literally overnight, we had just turned a massive corner in our business and literally had secured 3 big deals of work to go into organizations and work with their people, big companies. And literally within a week, we were so happy because of what we've been working on with some companies and these things that happen. And then literally, I don't know whether you had that thing, the realization of, okay, this is just about to happen. And, ooh, this could be a little bit bigger than maybe what we thought it was going to be. And then the realization of, oh, okay, the whole world now has changed and it's probably never going to be the same again. Now, I don't know what impact it's had on you, but I would imagine it's impacted your life in some way, shape or form. So the first question I want to ask you is talking about unlocking human potential. Is there anything that you would like to particularly know or get out of this short period of time that we spend together? Because if there is, I know there's just a small group here, but it doesn't matter, right? It could be one person. It only takes one person to start a revolution, right? And I'm looking for one person. I'm always looking for one person who is interested in this, right? I call it the gap between where we are and where we want to be. In fact, where we are for most of us is we're caught in a gap. So are you where you want to be with your health? Yes or no? Just put yes or no. You have the health and the energy that you want. Or would you like more? Just looking at your comments here, right? So are you where you want to be? Are you where you want to be with your relationships, with the people around you? Could you be a better friend? Could you be a better mother? Could you be a better daughter, a better son, could you be better? Would you like to be better? If all I had to do was come over here and here's one I made. Literally, had to just wave my magic wand and you could have the health and the energy that you wanted, and you could have the type of relationship. You wouldn't lose your cool. You'd listen to your children. You'd listen to the people around you. And then also with your work and your wealth, are you where you want to be? Now, what you find with most people is very few people are where they want to be. And because they aren't where they want to be, it puts them into a position of choice. They can either, and you might have heard of these concepts before, what we call the growth mindset. Hopefully this is the right way around on the camera. I believe it should be. Otherwise, growth mindset or a fixed mindset, right? So I don't know whether you've ever heard of these terms, the growth mindset or the fixed mindset. When we look at unlocking human potential, in order to unlock it, you have to have a growth mindset. You have to be curious about what is possible. You have to be curious about what you're capable of. You have to be curious as to how good you can be, how much better life can be. That's really what a growth mindset is. You're open up to possibility. When you've got a fixed mindset, you've got this mindset of, oh, this is the way it is. And it's quite a harsh way of looking at it, but I believe you're either growing or you're dying. And many people are choosing to die in a way that they wouldn't necessarily see. So right now I'm on a massive mission to do something on the back of COVID, especially with weight, because we know that people being overweight has put them hugely at risk of not only getting the virus, but dying of the virus. Obesity and being overweight, 65% of people in this country, and in the 1950s, it was only 2% of people that were obese. So the numbers have skyrocketed. And I was at the university hospital today and talking to the medical staff, and they all say it's a massive factor. And I want to do something about it. I have what's called a burning desire. So when you look at unlocking human potential revolves around people who want to grow, people who want to get better, people who have what we call either a definiteness of purpose, they know what they're here to do, or they have a burning desire, right? A burning desire. So, but what's really interesting about this is, let me ask you guys the question, what do you have a burning desire to do? So have you ever heard of a guy called Abraham Maslow? This is all related to unlocking human potential. Have you ever heard of a guy called Abraham Maslow? Maslow, just looking at your comments here, how do you address those internally versus externally? A good question. Well, we can come back to that. Abraham Maslow was a humanistic psychologist, and you might have heard of this. It's called The Hierarchy of Needs. So this is a guy in the 50s that talked about, look, at the base of all human needs is having a roof over your head, right? Warmth, food, shelter. Then above that is a sense of belonging, being a part of a community. And he would say all of these are needs, but you obviously have to have this need first, a roof over your head, food on your table. But then he talked at the top here, and what he said is what man can be, he must be. Now, he might be right, he might be wrong, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I personally think that deep down inside, we know that we are more capable. We know we can be fitter. We know we can be healthier. We know that life can be more meaningful. We can have better relationships. What I loved about what he said is that need is what he called self-actualizing, that need is just as important as this need. So if you're not filling in this gap, if you're not working at getting better, how many happy people do you know? Because if you know a happy person and you go around to their house, you'll find that they've got a project on the go. You'll find that somewhere in their house, there's something that they're working on. There's something that they love to do. That's what happy people tend to do. But then there are people who want to do a lot more, who are driven by what we would call a quest. And they have this burning desire to grow, to get better, to leave a mark. So what I want to do is we're going to talk around a few subjects because I want to help you. How many of you are struggling during this challenging time? How many of you, your world has been turned upside down? How many of you are looking for something else to do? How many of you are ready for something else? Because that says RIP. I've written 19 books and I love reading. I don't particularly love writing, but I've written many books. And people often ask me, which one of your books would you recommend? And I often say, there's a couple, but it depends what you want. But there's a couple of books I recommend to everybody. One of them is Think and Grow Rich, that was written by Napoleon Hill. It came out in 1937. And another is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the author, Dr. Stephen Covey, talks about the first habit being be proactive. So again, when you're growing, it's because you're proactive. You're actively moving forward. The second habit is to begin with the end in mind. Okay? Now, I don't know how deep you want to go with this, but I think your life matters. You've given me your time here. So the best thing I can do is give you my time and give you the best of my time because I might never see you again. So I really want to give you some food for thought so that maybe I leave an imprint, that something is imprinted from what I say to you today, that you maybe look at life in a different way moving forwards. Because we know that people don't change when we tell them what to do. We know that people really change when their perspective changes, when they have a shift. And COVID has definitely given a lot of people a perspective shift, as to with George Floyd being killed. That's also given people a perspective shift. They're starting to look at the world differently. And when we look at the world differently, I think we have a chance to then act differently. So let me ask you, for those of you that are here watching this live, when Dr. Covey said, begin with the end in mind, he actually meant the end of your life. So just imagine we're all at your funeral. What is it that you would be wanting people to be saying about you? Your eulogy. What would you like to be hearing? How would you like to be remembered? You know, a few years ago, my father passed away. My father was my hero. He taught me so many things. He taught me, son, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I know a lot of people. He trained me well. But my dad was amazing because my dad had time for people. And when he passed away, the crematorium, the Hoop Lane in Golders Green, was absolutely packed. There were people outside. They couldn't get in. They were watching it on screens. My dad had been a Rotarian for 50 years of his life. He had given so much away. And so many people wrote letters and emails to my mum. I didn't read them at first. I didn't want to. I didn't feel ready to look. But when I finally did, I saw a theme that went all the way through. a theme of my dad had time for people. He was interested in people and he made people feel important. What do you want the legacy of your life to be? Because to begin with the end in mind really is to understand that we are not at the end of your life just yet, right? You would agree, yeah? Would you not agree? That you're not at the end of your life. Many of us sometimes feel that we've sometimes felt that COVID was the end. But let me ask you this question. So, I would write this down, and I wouldn't necessarily have to come up with the answer straight away, but, what would you want the legacy of your life to be? How do you want to be remembered? I want to be remembered like I had a mark in people's lives. So that if this was the only time I ever met you and I never saw you again, and I died, you'd remember this time that we spent together. Because I'm giving you everything I've got. I'm giving you everything I've learned. It's not just what I've learned, it's what's been shared with me as well. People who have worked with me, my mentors, my coaches, who have helped me work with people from all walks of life, help people win world championships, Olympic medals, helped me with the businesses that I've had. Because I haven't done any of this on my own, right? Well, that's not entirely true. Some of it I've done on my own, but most of it I've done it because I've been helped and supported by others. So I would like you, if I died tomorrow, to say, you know what, that half an hour I spent with Pete Cohen, it really impacted me. It made me stop and think about the importance of my life. And that's what I want you to think about, because if we begin with the end in mind, I heard someone say not long ago that hell was coming to the end of your life and meeting the person that you could have been. Meeting the person that you could have become. I worked in professional football for a few years as a sports psychologist, and I'd meet lots of footballers who would be saying things like, oh, they're retired, right? And they'd be saying, you know what, if I did this and if I did that, this would have happened, that would have happened. And it's like, okay, well, that has happened. What are you going to do? So for me, it's about what are you going to do with what you have? And here comes my next question, okay? You ready? You ready for another question? Well, I actually got two questions, but let me ask you the first one. You ready? When do you think we get to see the best in human beings in general? When do you think we get to see the best in human beings? Well, because we haven't got that much time together and it takes time for you to give me your answer, but Nan says, during a crisis, yeah, absolutely. I used to live in Ladbroke Grove on a houseboat opposite Sainsbury's. And a few years ago, I woke up to a smell, and the smell was of a burning block of flats. I came outside and I heard screaming and shouting, and I saw flames, and I was like, whoa, is this really happening? I ran to Grenville Towers, and what I saw was pretty horrific. But why I tell you this is that there were people that lived there that didn't talk to each other. But when this happened, we saw a side of people that we never normally see. People were behaving in ways, giving what they didn't even have. And having just come back, literally just 15 minutes ago, I drove home and from Southampton University Hospital, where I was working with the executive team, where they've been dealing with COVID, right? Now, most of us don't know too much about COVID because we haven't seen the front line, literally people just dropping dead. And that's what was happening in that hospital. And they galvanized, they all came together because a crisis seems to do things to people that we wouldn't normally see. But why they've asked me to go in is because I made some comments to one of their colleagues around, after a crisis, you've got a big problem. You've got post-traumatic stress going on. You've got a whole load of people that now don't have anything to focus on, who will go into a massive depression, and we can lift these people up and give them something to aim for, give them some hope. And that's what I want to talk to you about, because unlocking human potential, yeah, it definitely revolves around, I want to grow, I want to get better, I want to be better in these three areas. The three areas, right, without doubt, are health, right? The three areas that most people, if you could wave a magic wand and make them be better in three areas, That would be their health and their energy, their relationships and their wealth and their work. We call these the big three. That is where most people want change. But with these, you can't really buy them, can you? They're things that you have to create. So does this make sense? Unlocking human potential, we know it revolves around growth, growing in these areas, getting better in these areas. Most people are not getting better in their health. They think the older they get, the less they can do about it. It's nonsense. This system is amazing. Most of us have just got out of the habit. Now, maybe I'm a bit strange that I got up at 10 to 4 this morning and came downstairs, drank a cup of coffee. I drink the world's healthiest coffee, had some water, and then I exercised. And that might seem crazy to some people, but I'm not bothered about how I feel because I didn't feel like doing it. But if I relied totally on my feelings, I'd be screwed. In order to unlock human potential, you have to learn to think differently. In actual fact, you have to think greater than you feel. Now, I don't know how much time we have to go into this. And if any of you want to go any deeper into this, I'll share a couple of things with you that will help you. Because this is what you know. If this is resonating with you, it's either because you've done it before in your past, you've been focused on developing yourself, you're doing it now, and you know this is the secret. And by the way, The Secret doesn't work. If you've read the book, The Secret, it doesn't work because The Secret misses out on something. It really misses out on something. You can have a vision board and you can feel great about what you're seeing in your mind's eye, but that doesn't bring about a necessity to act. And that's what we need. To unlock human potential, we need a burning desire or a DOP, definite of purpose, that produces action, right? And action is not brought about just by a vision of what's possible. A real action is brought about the obstacles that you will face on this journey. So if this was you here and you're going on a journey to get better, you take daily action, and then all of a sudden you hit an obstacle. What do most people do when they hit an obstacle? When things get difficult, they go back to what they were doing before. That is such a common thing in humanity. Human beings, did you know that there is a word in Indian Sanskrit, ancient Indian Sanskrit, which means hero in the beginning? So 2,500 years ago, longer, people had a word for someone being heroic in the beginning. Have you ever been a hero in the beginning? You felt enthusiastic, you've bought a book, you've started reading, you've joined the gym, you've started eating better, you've started some idea, some business, and then all of a sudden your heroic effort went out the back door. Can you believe that? They recognized that thousands of years ago. They also recognized thousands of years ago the power of willpower, which used to be called temperance, your ability to say no, to withstand. To maximize human potential, you have to practice virtue. Virtues like courage. That's a virtue, to be courageous, to do what you need to do even if you don't feel like it. To practice wisdom. You know, the older we get, the more wisdom we have, using wisdom, practicing wisdom. What else? Temperance, willpower, you know, your ability to withstand and say, no, that's not for me. You see, when we think of the good life really is choosing to grow. There was a man who won the Nobel Prize in 1937, the year that Think and Grow Rich came out. And his theory, he had won it twice, the Nobel Prize. He had a theory of something called syntropy, which basically meant every living cell lives for one reason. It lives to grow. It lives to expand fully. And when we're not expanding and we're not growing, there's a part of us that's dying. Now, I know this might sound like a sermon to you, but right now I'm looking outside my window here, and I can see some blue tits, I can see some sparrows. 2 days ago, I saw a badger in the garden. Yesterday morning, I saw a fox in the garden. There's a lot of nature outside. The difference between us and pretty much everything else in nature is nature relies on nature. We don't rely on it. We take advantage of it. And animals rely a lot on instinct. We can rely on instinct, but the thing that separates you and I with anything else is choice. That's the dignity that we have been given. We have been given a choice. So COVID has given us a choice of how we're choosing to move our life forwards. And you might think that you don't have control over certain things, but yeah, certain things you don't. And this is the other thing. Maximizing human potential, it really means focusing on what you can control. And from my experience, anyone that wants to make positive changes in their life and start to apply this stuff, they're going to need help. They're going to need a coach. They're going to need a mentor. Let me just give you a bit of a backstory. I don't know if I know it. Do I know anyone that's here? I know Sarah Parkhurst, who I've known for years. I'm not sure if she's actually on this call or not. But she was the one. We have to thank her because she sent me a message asking if I'd like to speak here. And those of you that know Sarah, she's one of the kindest, most incredible people I know. And she actually organized my 40th birthday party for me. I'm now 50. That was 10 years ago. I'm just going to turn this light off because there's a lot of light coming in here now. That probably should be maybe just a little bit better. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's what my father taught you. Yeah, I mean, your father was a wise man. Now, Sarah knows a little bit about my backstory, but 9 years ago, my wife was given 18 months to live with a very aggressive brain tumor. My dad always told me, son, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And my mum has always said there's an answer to everything. So I've always believed there's an answer to everything. And when this happened, it was massively challenging. But the only reason my wife is alive today is because when this happened, I phoned up my coach who lived in Dallas, Texas at the time. And I asked him what I should do. And his advice saved my wife's life. My wife is alive and well. My wife is a quilter. She's quilting something right now. And my coach said to me, he said, find people that are still alive with the same brain tumor and find out why. And then he said, what is she going to do when she gets better? Now, I didn't say that to her at the time. I didn't say anything. I just literally went and found people that were still alive with the same brain tumor. And then I found who they were treated by. Some of these people, this treatment was in America. It cost about $200,000. We went to America and the treatment saved my wife's life. And I didn't say anything about what my coach said about what is she going to do when she gets better till 3 years afterwards. 3 years later, we were living in Finchley in London, and I asked her that question and she started to cry. The reason she started crying was she didn't really have a future in her mind. She just didn't want to die. And when we look, as we start to wrap this up, when we start to look at really what it takes to deal with the difficulty is to have a vision of where you're going. And you have been gifted with this ability. You have been given the ability to see the future even before it's happened. You have the ability to have hope. I'm running out of space here. There is a science of hope. Hope is where you think your future is better than where you are right now. So why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you this because it's my life's work to reach out to people like you and say, listen, life can be more than it is today. There are certain things that you could do. You could say, you know what, I want to grow. I want to get better. I want to be better. I know that there's more to me than meets the eye. And if that's you, you have to choose to grow. You have to become aware. You have to become really aware of what you're doing with your mind. That's what mindfulness is. You have to recognize what I can be, I must be. That doesn't mean about being a perfectionist, because perfectionism doesn't exist. There's no such thing as perfectionism. Nothing is perfect. It's just looking to be your best. And some people need help with that, because if it's not perfect for them, it's a problem. So let's just wrap this up. If you want to be able to deal with adversity, if you want to give your best to the world, you need to have a burning desire. And if you don't have one right now, you could have one. The most powerful burning desires and definiteness of purposes seem to be about helping others. You need to learn to think greater than you feel. You need to practice virtues like wisdom, justice, temperance. You need to focus on the things that you can control. You have a vision that basically pulls you through, a vision of the end of your life, and thinking about the end of your life in such a way where you think, you know what, there's still stuff I want to do. There's still a mark that I want to leave on this world. I think that's it. Listen, this was like literally half an hour. I have a very popular podcast. It's one of the top podcasts on mental health, regularly in the top 10. If you want to dive a bit deeper into this, then go to this page, coaching, and then we'll take some questions. Coaching.petecohen.com. There's a masterclass that I have put together really about overcoming adversity in challenging times. It's half an hour long. I cover some of this, but I go a bit deeper. And on the back of this, if any of you want to speak to me, you'll see that there's a way that you can arrange to get on a call. I'll gladly speak to any of you if there's anything I can do to help you and serve you in any way, shape, or form. My big question right now, which I'm asking pretty much everyone, is how can I help you? What do you need? What can I give you that I have? How can I point you in the right direction? Because you know what? The same wind blows us all. I didn't say this. A guy called Jim Rohn said this, who was the mentor to Anthony Robbins. The same wind blows us all. It is the setting of the sail, the direction that we choose to go in. We couldn't do anything about COVID. I don't think, not really. But what can we do now? So it's just gone 3 o'clock. I want to thank you guys for listening. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram if I can help you in some way. I know this is a challenging time, and thank you to Helen and the team for putting this on, because the only reason this is here is to help you and inspire you. You do so much work for others, putting on events and being there for everyone else. Now that you wouldn't have asked for this, so how can I help you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing, Pete. Amazing. Just my brain at the moment is just kind of gone. Just every single word you were saying is just, it resonates and speaks volumes in terms of the messages that EventWell as an organization as well tries to get out there so much. So it's just such great thought leadership and insight. Some of the stuff I loved was to learn to think differently. You can do that. You are not hardwired in terms of your values and beliefs and the way you think. Your brain has plasticity to it. You can change the way you think. You can change the voice, that inner imp. You can change what it says. And that starts with yourself, and it starts with kindness and compassion and self-love and all of those things. Think greater than you feel. I really like that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the work from a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza, who some people have come across, who's just a genius in terms of, one thing he explained to me, which blew me away, is that your body is your unconscious mind. Because if you have a feeling, you feel the feeling in your body. You don't feel it in your head. You have a thought. The thought manifests as a feeling. Where's the feeling in here? You're never going to stop thinking, but if you learn to change what you're thinking, which can take time, you'll change how you feel. Change how you feel, you'll change how you act. Change how you act, you'll change your results, you'll change your life. And the world isn't going to change for you, really, or maybe it will to a certain extent. It's as Gandhi said, right? It's being the change that you want to see in this world. And that should be a lifetime of work. Unfortunately, maybe that's the wrong word, work. It's a project for life, right? So
yes, yeah, definitely. And it's interesting you put that point on how you feel. If you speak to a lot of people, particularly in our space, they'll actually tell you that the body has 3 brains. So you have the brain that's in your head, you have the brain that's your heart, and the brain that's your gut. And that's because there's neurons in your gut, there's neurons around your heart, and there's neurons in your brain. And they send you quite distinctive messages. So that's how you tend to feel most through your body. And that's the neurons in your body sending you distinct messages. So it's all about learning those kind of little subtle messages that your body sends you. You need to listen to your gut when it sends you messages. It's the most intuitive tool that you have is your gut. Listen to it, and listen to your heart as well. So everybody's heard those statements, and it's really, really true. So yeah, listen to. So I love that think greater than you feel. Absolutely love that. And also as well, I liked what you said about no such thing as perfect. And
I think that
question. Yeah.
I think a lot of women struggle with that. I mean, it's a generalization. I think more women struggle with that than men, to be honest. It's just not healthy. I mean, striving for it is amazing, but not beating yourself up when you don't get it.
Yeah.
You know, we are imperfect beings. We're not perfect. We don't live forever. We can live a lot longer than we do, and we can live better than we currently do. But yeah.
Perfectionism, I'd probably say, is one of the biggest problems that we have in the events industry as event planners and organisers. I'm the same. I'm an event planner, organiser, but I kind of changed my view on it, and I don't know if you'd agree with this, Pete, because I found that it helped me. I don't strive for perfectionism. I strive for excellence.
Yeah,
so completely changed the way I think. And would you say that that's helpful for people? Because there are some people in the events industry that just everything has got to be perfect, and it's not having that understanding that perfect is perceptive. It's different.
Yeah, and you can't please all the people all the time, and you know, it's just doing the best that you can, and knowing that at the end of the day, there's always going to be something that you can do better. You know, there's a very strange game. You might have heard of it. It's called golf, and people that play it. I used to play it a lot. You can't play perfect golf. You know, the golf course is designed to beat you and destroy you, but it's also designed to bring out the best in you. You'll never come off the golf course having played a perfect round. You'll always come off, well, okay, there's something to improve. And when you have, that's a really good point. When you have this kind of growth mindset, you almost want things to go wrong in a way, because you think, okay, well, then the next time I'll remember that and I can have a go at making that better. But it's a shift. This is a shift, and we don't learn this stuff in school. I think maybe one day this stuff will be taught to kids, because if you teach this early, then children have a much better chance of finding themselves, being comfortable with who they are. Because most of us are just undoing what's been done, but it's not done as in it's set in stone. We can change, as you said, the whole neuroplasticity piece around how this thing is malleable. It can change, but you have to have a reason. If you don't have a reason to change, you won't change. You'll change for a bit, you know. And I think that if we realize that, we have this opportunity to go after things. And as a coach, I'm obsessed with that. When someone has an idea, you think, what a great idea. Let's make that idea happen. It was Dr. Wayne Dyer that said, you know, ideas exist twice, right? They exist twice, once in here and then once in reality. If they exist here first, that means it's possible. But what we need to do to bring into the world something that we see is often support. We often need to be dogged and not give up when things get difficult. To create, because I think that's what we're here to do, to create and leave the world in a better place than when we came here.
Yeah.
So we've got some work to do, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's a great statement that I love just to add to that is, if you get tired, learn to rest, not quit. So tired, if you have tenacity is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. So if you're finding something difficult, just give yourself a rest, go back to it later, but don't try to give up. Yeah.
And I mean it. If anyone wants to talk to me, this is all free. This thing we've put together. Also, this is the latest book I wrote. It's called Inspirators. This came out, I don't even know when it came out, not that long ago. You can get a copy of this for free, or you as a PDF, or I think if you pay £6, we'll ship it to you. If you go to inspirators.me. Inspirators.me. This is all about your life as a movie, and how to start taking the lead in the next phase of your life. So yeah, but thank you so much for the opportunity. I really do wish all of you success, and I'm sure that you'll look back maybe one day and think, you know what, I'm pleased this happened, because it gave me something I didn't have before. It made me appreciate things more. And that was the thing I was going to say before I started, the thing that popped into my head, which I didn't mention. People that have the growth mindset and have been practicing it, everything that happens, they have this approach, which is this has been granted for me. I'm not taking it for granted. COVID has been granted for me to do something with it. That's up to you what you do with it. My wife, you know, having had a brain tumor, I believe that was granted for us. Our lives have, I wasn't even that keen on her, to be honest, before this happened. I never thought I was going to marry her. It's the best thing that ever happened. Plus, for other reasons as well, but I won't go into. And it's a shift. It's a perspective. It's a choice. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for today and giving me this opportunity. So I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's just been such an amazing session. And I hope everyone's taken lots from it. Such brilliant insight and learnings and stuff. We have recorded this, so it will be available after the event as well. So you'll be able to keep coming back to it, because we believe that once you've received a message, you need to receive it again and again and again for it to start to become part of your nature and part of what you're doing. So we're going to make all of these sessions available afterwards. Yeah, Pete's put that in. I missed out the book, so you put that in. Brilliant. There's a link. I'm going to be getting a copy of it.
Book. No, hang on a second. No, actually, hang on a second. It has been you were just saying about rest, and I was thinking, I need after this. I do need to, but I will. Thank you for saying that, because I might. This is where you get the book.
Yeah, I think it's been a busy few days for everything. You've had a particularly busy day today, haven't you?
Yeah, but it was amazing to spend time with these people who literally, you can imagine what that must have been like dealing with COVID. Just goalposts that were just changing all the time. Yeah. But yeah, I just think that people have so much more to them than meets the eye, but they often need a little bit of help. So yeah, reach out to me if I can help, and enjoy the rest of your day, and let's meet up soon.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to get you back for some more EventWell stuff in the future, Pete. So thank you so much.
Definitely.
Thank you for joined us.
And thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.